I remember my mother memorably saying to me once, "Well, you have played rather a long series of good women in frocks." And I thought, you're right. I should really branch out.
Welcome to Locarno Meets, a movie podcast brought to you by UBS from the Locarno Film Festival. Emma Thompson is a 2-time Oscar-winning screenwriter and actor, but now she's starring in a film which is quite unlike anything she's done before. Emma joined us to talk about ice, Oscars, and acting underwater. Emma Thompson, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, you're so welcome. Person from Kentish Town, which I know so well. Alex, I'm really happy to be here.
Good. Well, thank you. Congratulations on The Dead of Winter.
Thank you.
It's really good, and you made an action film. No one saw that coming.
No one saw it, least of all me. But I don't know whether I really think of it as an action film. I mean, there's action in it.
Yeah.
But for me, it's sort of a love story, really. That's what I loved about it. I loved a lot of things about it. So the script by the two Minnesotans, who are Nicholas and Dalton Liebend and Nick, they're just such great guys. And they're from Minnesota, which is a very particular place, full of just the most wonderful people. I mean, it's they came to LA, didn't know each other, and then met each other in LA and realised that they lived 2 streets apart when they were growing up. So there was that one degree of separation. And they both had access to these extraordinary women with incredible resilience and humour and a kind of grit that's born, I suppose, out of living it through those bloody winters. And I spent a lot of time talking to women about, mostly because I really, really wanted to make sure the accent was right, because I knew I wouldn't be able to get the accent just with a coach. I had a wonderful coach, but I knew I had to talk over and over again. Every week I'd do 2 hours on Zoom with the Minnesotans before we started, and then all through the movie, just because I thought that's one thing I really want to get right.
Just sort of chatting about your day?
Yeah, just talking about everything.
Free therapy?
Did that, sort of therapy. And then when we did that, and we got to the end of the movie, and I had my first conversation with them in my own voice, and they were completely traumatized, It was so weird. But their character, I suppose, what's the nearest in our country? I suppose it's the Scottish.
Yeah.
So Barb, I loved her. And I loved her happiness, her satisfaction, her knowledge that she has had the most beautiful life. And that even though she's in grief, she's also so grateful for what she's had, grateful enough to say, okay, I can let go of this. It's time, I just found all of that so deeply moving.
I think that one of the things I like about this film, and you're right, I was being glib, it's not really an action movie, but it does have action elements in it.
Yeah.
But one thing I like about it is that mortality is thematically central.
Yeah.
And a lot of kind of action thrillers and that sort of thing basically stay away from that. They pretend mortality doesn't exist because that would ruin the fun of killing people.
It's true. It's true. You're right.
Yeah. And I feel like this matters so much more because it is that drama wrapped in the thriller.
Yeah, I so agree with you. I think the fact that it is really about death and dying and grieving, and the fact that death is natural and it's hard, but then, you go through it, you let go. I mean, Carl's death is so moving to me. You see that she has probably seen him through Alzheimer's or dementia of some kind, and playing that scene when he dies in front of her is so meaningful. So, and Brian, we cried a lot making the film. So the fact that she's carrying his death with her, and then suddenly comes across this awful thing, and a child who's already not quite attached herself enough to life because she's had too difficult a time, and that Barb is able to, as it were, reinvest her in her own existence. I mean, that's a great gift. I mean, obviously she sacrifices herself, but I don't think she would see it that way. She would just say, well, what else are you going to do? It's obvious. I'm it's done for me. So she just gave her this gift. Because you know that she's not going to do it again. You know that she's going to live, the girl.
And do you, when you come across a script like this that's got so much solitary acting in it, do you see that as an exciting challenge or a little bit daunting? Because I think you're best known for roles where you do quite a lot of chatting.
Yeah, and ensemble stuff. And I always write ensemble stuff, it's true. You're never solitary because you're surrounded by a bloody great crew.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, you know, however, quite one of the things I really loved about it was there wasn't much chat. You know, we'd just done Leo Grand, which was nothing but chat. Well, and a bit of sex, you know, but not enough to really kind of balance it out. And then this movie, mostly she doesn't say much at all until she's in the cellar, where she says a little bit. You know, she tells that story, which is, by the way, a true story.
Oh, really?
Yes. It was one of the writers, it was Nick's great-grandfather, Ivor, who actually survived the Great Blizzard of 1888, which was, in its day, called the Children's Blizzard, because it happened at 4:00 in the afternoon when all the children were coming home from school, and it came in so fast and furious that they were buried in it and no one could find them. So it was a very severe event in America, and he survived it with his ox. He actually got under a tarpaulin in the back of the cart, and the ox slowly made its way home. You know, that connection between man and nature, that story, and Barb's connection between her and the nature, understanding its dangers, its real dangers, and knowing how to use them against these people.
When you went into that environment, how quickly did you understand the dangers of that?
Oh, it's a really good question. I spent a month getting used to it because when I arrived in Finland alone, actually that was the most solitary bit, because Brian wasn't there. There was nobody there except Teresa, our stunt coordinator, extraordinary woman. And so I spent a month getting in and out of frozen lakes and getting used to a cold that I had never known. And it was minus 37 when we arrived.
Worse than
and
the Hampstead swimming ponds.
Well, it's even worse. And less duck poo. So it was just sort of, it's a thing. It's like a character, the cold. It takes you like it bites you, and it holds you in a very iron grasp, the cold. And so the whole shoot was this process of how do we keep warm? How do we do that? Because we weren't near anywhere. We were 60 kilometres away from the Russian bloody border, and we were very far north. So it was a beautiful place, Koli. And it's another of those places that looks exactly like it does on the postcards, and it's Finland's famous beauty spot, and it's amazing because you look out over all these frozen lakes. And the reason we were there was because of, thanks to climate change, there was no frozen lake in Minnesota. We couldn't shoot in Minnesota because there was no ice. So we had it in Finland. But I cannot begin to tell you about the heroism of that crew. That the fact that they survived, we were all outside all day, every day, freezing our tits off. And there was nowhere to go, really. They couldn't bring vehicles down for people to get into and keep warm. So we just all stamped our feet and endured. And, you know, the Finns, of course, are used to it.
Yeah,
and you know, they're walking around in T-shirts, and they're cutting great big pieces of ice out of the lake and lifting them out with their bare hands. And you go, why are you doing that? We are used. They're so fantastically laconic, the Finns, and you see why. But that lake, that frozen lake, was the most beautiful location I've ever had the privilege to work on.
I mean, I'd be scared to walk on any frozen lake.
No, you wouldn't.
Really?
No, Alex, you wouldn't.
Okay.
The ice is so thick.
Right.
But it does do this weird thing that they show in the movie where it will shift and will make a strange, thundering, booming sound. And it's just the ice moving. Oh. It's very spooky. And every morning we came on, there were different tracks. Like a wolverine or a fox, and you'd look at the tracks and go, oh, where did they go? Oh, they're in there. Because there's nothing there. There's no towns, as it were. We were not filming it near any towns. So And we got so cold. And my beautiful dress, that Anna, she would come up to me and warm my hands on her face because that was the best place, So we were very...
There's something very prehistoric about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a very good word. It's exactly how I feel this morning. Prehistoric.
Are you literally jumping into the hole in the lake that you see in the movie?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, when you signed up for the film, did you kind of realise that, I don't know, that would be what you were doing? Or, I don't know, was there nervousness about doing some stuff that's quite so physical?
I dreaded it.
Right.
Actually, there were very many moments when I thought, why did I say yes to this again? What? Hang on. Did I even... Maybe I thought we would be filming in Switzerland or something. I don't know what I thought, but anyway, I was wrong.
Right.
And yet, Brian Kirk and I, our director, we said many, many times as we sat in saunas and picked our way down to the frozen lake where they cut a hole and you get into the lake in order to prepare myself anyway for submersion in that lake, because they pull you down. We had divers under the water pulling us down because you're wearing a dry suit and you're wearing a costume on top, so you're fantastically buoyant.
Oh, okay.
So you had to be yanked under, which is also scary because the cold gives you a fright, and when you get a fright, you don't breathe properly. So there were all of these things, and then the drowning sequence was shot in the biggest filming dive centre in Brussels. And Judy and I had to spend many, many weeks learning how to hold our breath.
It's a very beautiful shot.
I love those shots. I loved doing them, actually. I did love doing them. I loved acting underwater because there's really nothing you can do.
How long can you hold your breath for underwater now?
Well, only 3 minutes.
Pretty good. It's no Kate Winslet, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
No, I love that final shot, but was it a conscious choice of yours to do all your own stunts?
Yes, it was. I felt like you can't... It's very rare that someone's body will move in the same way as yours. And, Barb is old and she moves in an old way. She moves in a sort of lumbering way. She's a little lumbering bear. And in the script, the boys write, they use that verb. She lumbers about, she pads about, and I really wanted to do that. And my stunt double, who was absolutely brilliant, just didn't, that she was a young, very, very fit woman. She wasn't going to move in the same way at all. There are little sequences in the fight sequence where there are tiny little moments where they've used a bit of both our stunt doubles because it will be something to do with logistics. But we all did, Judy and I did everything ourselves. I don't think there was a oh no, there's one thing I didn't do.
What's that?
One thing is when Barb bashes the door in and falls down the stairs. I wasn't allowed to do that for insurance
It doesn't
sake.
sound that much
but
fun.
Also, I really, really knew that I would break my neck.
Right, yeah.
There are some things you just say, I don't think I can do that.
We spend our whole lives trying not to fall down the stairs.
Well, precisely. Exactly.
I think that, when this comes out, in a wider sense, a lot of people will say, oh, what a departure, what a kind of striking move. But if you look back at your last major roles, as you say, good luck to you, Leo Grand, that's a super short shoot, just talking and sex, as you say, that's a sort of a risky move. Before that, Matilda is a transformation. I feel like you challenge yourself with every role you take. Is that conscious?
Yeah, I think it is. I don't really want to repeat myself too much. I remember my mother memorably saying to me once, well, you have played rather a long series of good women in frocks. And I thought, you're right, I should really branch out. But yeah, absolutely it is. I mean, I just respond to material as it is. Sometimes like with this one, I don't quite see the reality of it.
Right.
I just think, oh, this is a really great story, and forget that I've got to tell it physically, But I must say that last night, being here in Locarno and watching that film, what we went through on that huge screen with 8,000 people, was one of the high points of my life. It was just so wonderful to experience it in that kind of situation, to remind ourselves that going to a film that's well made is such a beautiful experience, to be together in a space and then be able to turn to one another and go, oh, what did you think? And wasn't that, what was your favourite moment? And when did you, all of those things that we love so much about going to the movies. That's why I still go to the cinema.
That's good.
Yeah.
Often?
Yeah, pretty often.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
I love going to the cinema.
You saw?
I went to see the last, The Count of Monte Cristo.
Oh yeah.
I went to see both. I went to see both Three Musketeers, which I absolutely adored.
A double bill?
There was doubles. They made one and then the next one.
Yeah.
I've seen lots of things in this. What was the last? I saw Banshees in the cinema. I saw Barbie in the cinema. I saw. I can't remember now. Don't ask me. I've got a hangover.
No, fair enough. I told my son that I was going to interview Miss Trunchbull, and he said he was very impressed, but also legitimately said he was worried. I was thinking about...
That's so sweet.
I know, he's only 5.
Tell him from me he's a maggot.
I was thinking about Trunchbull and Nanny McPhee as well, actually. Yeah. And about how, with an actor who, as you say, is, basically made quite a large splash by playing good women in frocks.
Yeah.
If prosthetics and that sort of thing feels like a fun tool to use or like a hand behind your back?
That's a very good way of putting it. It's absolutely a hand at your back. It's both with Nanny McPhee and with Trunchbull, the prosthetics artists, they're part of the role. They are part of the role. I mean, you sit in that chair for 2.5 hours with those women who just are such great artists. They really are. It's like I always said Trunchbull was created by 5 people.
Right.
I was just in the middle, that's all, doing the stuff. And it was... Actually, that was a very demanding role because of the early mornings, because of that, and also because the costumes were so heavy, and because we were singing live. Everything was sung live, and getting up on that huge tower, terrifying. Yeah, so that was quite scary too, actually.
Do you feel like your beginning of your career in sketch comedy is still kind of paying off?
I think comedy always pays off. I wouldn't dream of doing anything that was humourless. I don't like earnest, really. I mean, I think oddly, especially when I was young, I was quite earnest. Not anymore. But comedy, to me, is the bedrock of everything I do.
Yeah.
I can remember saying to Ang when we started casting Sense and Sensibility, I said, everyone has to be funny. You can't cast anyone in this who isn't funny. And if you're making a film that has humour in it, make sure people can be funny.
I've got a theory, and it's not scientifically kind of sound, perhaps.
Yeah.
But I think Sense and Sensibility may be the funniest screenplay to ever win an Oscar. I think.
Oh, that's such an interesting theory.
In competition, you've basically got like the Philadelphia Story, maybe Annie Hall. They're funny. I think Sense and Sensibility is funnier.
That's so kind of you to say. I'm immediately going to go back and research that in depth and then say it to anyone who'll listen. I mean, but it is funny. Yeah, it's very funny.
And that's what I love about it, because Jane Austen's funny.
Yeah, she's hilarious.
Quite often, people turn it into soppy bollocks.
Soppy bollocks, domestic dramas.
Yeah.
It's not that. It's a brutal, really cynical, very funny, biting satire about what it is to be alive in those places. And often it just goes, and it's just, Empire Lines.
Which is very weird. It's like people didn't read the book.
I know, it's so weird. It's like a sort of comfort somehow. And you go, don't you see how satirical she is? How satirical. Even though there are weddings at the end and there are happy endings, nonetheless, within the journey, there's always Sense and Sensibility, Lucy. She's one of my favourite characters. She's just completely self-interested, has no shame whatsoever, and is perfectly happy to marry a man she doesn't love or possibly even like, and certainly doesn't fancy, for money. And that makes her completely happy. And Austen was so clear about that. She said, what choices does she have? I love that about her. And her letters are funny.
Yeah, all of it.
She's super witty.
it's kind of a mad thing for your first screenplay to be rewriting Jane Austen. Was it intimidating?
You know what? I sort of didn't really think about it like that. I just thought, I love her. I've always loved her. And, you know, Lindsay had asked me to do it because of a sketch I'd written that was based, in fact, on an Edith Wharton short story. Oh, okay. So a lot of my comedy had come out of 19th century writers. So I went to Ruth Prabhajawala and I said, how do you adapt books? She said, adapt everything. Mm-hmm. Just dramatise everything and you'll soon know what's dramatic and what works and what doesn't. Right. And it was such good advice because there are scenes in there's an amazing scene in the book where Willoughby turns up in the middle of the night when Marianne's ill and you think, oh, I can't wait to write that. It's going to be so dramatic. Oh, Eleanor opens the door. She's expecting her mother, but no, it's the gorgeous Willoughby. Oh, we could have lightning and everything. And it was not in the screenplay because it just didn't work. And I had to invent so many things, you know, and Margaret's deeply dull in the book. So I gave her all the questions that people needed to ask, you know, like why does money go from father to son and not father to daughter, and why do people not just get a job? Actually, Sidney Pollock asked that question.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he said, you know, I'm just you know, I'm a dumb Jew from Indiana, so I mean, why can't they just get a job? I said, that's a really good question, Sidney. I will now place a line into the screenplay answering that question. Big tick.
And it needs to be spoken in a New York accent.
Yeah. No, and it's just a little line, you know, and but it does the trick. It does the trick.
Was it hard handing it? Obviously, Ang Lee's a genius director, but was it hard handing your baby over to a director and no longer being in charge of it, yet still being on set every day?
No, not at all. Screenplays are not babies. Screenplays are things in progress.
Right.
It's something that is in the process of being finished, made as watertight as possible so that you can move it around, you can pull and tug at it, but it will retain its structure. And then you hand it over to, hopefully, someone who's really going to do a good job with it. And then you hand it over to actors. You know, a book, a novel, I can understand.
Sure.
But a screenplay is designed to be handed to people, to other people. That's what's nice about it, is that, you know, there is that solitary work that you have to do, 5 years in the case of Sense and Sensibility. But then when you get to collaborate on it with your cast...
And what a cast, what kind of generation.
Oh my God, I know. And we've lost a lot of them, but darling Alan Rickman, who was so thrilled to be asked to play somebody who was really nice and a bit of a hero, because he'd been doing all the Sheriff of Nottinghams and the Die Hards, and he was just fed up.
Heartbreaking in that film. He's wonderful.
He's so good. And then Elizabeth Spriggs and Robert Hardy, who basically looked like they knew Jane Austen. they were, I don't know, they were just so the thing itself, because they just understood, because they were from a generation that was actually really closely connected to hers in a way.
No,
both all gone now.
I mean, that came out in 95, I think, and you won an Oscar for it. 3 years earlier, you'd won an Oscar for Howard's End. In the middles, Remains of the Day, we only get nominated, but, you know, such is life.
Yeah.
Looking back now, does it feel like a very strange thing in your life that suddenly Hollywood just went, the world is yours?
Yeah, it felt at the time quite odd, because what you must remember is that in the early 90s, the Oscars didn't quite exist in the way that they did after Harvey Weinstein got his hands on them.
True.
They were not as monetized, they weren't as sort of politicized, they weren't as manipulative or manipulated, I think. So there was still a set. I mean, Billy Crystal was still doing that, and he was such a lovely, beautiful man. And we had fun there, really. Yeah. No one expected anything, and I didn't know what it meant because I didn't follow the Oscars. It wasn't. So when I got there and got one, well, what was so extraordinary was it was other people's reactions to it. So I gave it to one of the security guards to hold, and it was like I'd handed him the Ark of the Covenant, you know. And then when I took it through customs, taking it home, I wrapped it in some old socks, possibly worn, to take it through the, the scanner, and someone noticed it, and took my bag off the thing and took out the Oscar, took the socks off, and then handed it around the airport. Everybody wanted to hold it. It was so touching and sweet. And then we got on the plane and the same thing happened. With the captain, could the captain just see? Could I take? I said, take it, show him. Everyone have a pic. It was very odd, because it was an iconic object.
Yeah.
It wasn't really anything to do with me. It was the object itself it had a power to it. And I don't know where that came from.
Is that about film or is it about status? About America? Is it?
It's something to do with America, and it's certainly something to do with the golden age of Hollywood. The Oscars are somehow related to, the old days of film.
In a newish country, you
but why did it mean that in England? Yeah. I didn't understand it in our country. It was odd, but it made me, appreciate it more.
I would be like that if you pulled the Oscar out of your bag now and put it down there. I don't think
that'd be any cooler. I just seem to have it here. Yes, absolutely. I mean, it was a very fun time.
I could talk to you all day, but sadly I think we're out of time. But congratulations on The Dead of Winter. I genuinely love the movie. I found it scary, emotional, incredibly enjoyable. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Alex. I'm so pleased because it's our first time. You're very nervous with things, and I just feel so happy about it.
It's gonna knock 'em dead.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was a great chat. See you in Kentish Town.
Damn straight.